The Galactic Arena was a marvel of cosmic architecture, a colossal structure orbiting a dying star at the edge of the known universe. Its gleaming spires pierced the void, a testament to eons of advanced engineering and cultural pride. Within its shimmering walls, species from across the galaxy gathered, not to share knowledge or foster peace, but to settle disputes in the only way the arena allowed: combat. This was no mere spectacle. It was a tradition, a sacred ground where dominance was proven and respect was earned. The arena was alive with the roar of countless voices, a cacophony of languages blending into a unified sound of anticipation. The stands brimmed with beings of all shapes and sizes: scaled behemoths, floating gelatinous forms, and entities made of pure light. Each species carried its own history of triumphs and losses in this place, but they all shared a common opinion. Humanity did not belong here. Humans were the cosmic anomaly, barely scraping into the interstellar stage with primitive technology and a penchant for diplomacy that many viewed as a sign of cowardice. Fragile bodies, short lifespans, and no discernible natural weapons made them the subject of ridicule in the arena's halls. To the galactic elite, humans were storytellers and negotiators, not warriors. In a universe where strength dictated respect, humanity was a footnote, an afterthought. Holographic projections dotted the concourse, each displaying caricature depictions of Earth's inhabitants. Mockery was not subtle here. Humans were depicted as fumbling creatures barely able to wield tools. The arena announcers, towering insectoids with booming voices, delighted in recounting humanity's supposed inferiority to the eager crowds. Betting boards didn't even list humans as a viable category. They were considered beneath notice. The history of the arena reinforced this narrative. Established millennia ago by an ancient coalition, it served as the ultimate arbiter of disputes, a proving ground for those seeking glory, resources, or territory. The rules were brutal but simple: survive, adapt, and dominate. No human had ever entered the ring. The very idea seemed laughable. It was a stage for the galaxy's apex predators, not its supposed weaklings. Then, one day, the laughter grew louder, not from humor, but from disbelief. A human had signed up to compete. The announcement spread like wildfire, drawing confused glances and outright mockery from the gathered species. As the registration process unfolded, a ripple of curiosity moved through the arena. Who was this human, and what were they thinking? The news traveled from the betting halls to the combat pits, igniting debates among the competitors. The figure that stepped forward to confirm the registration was unimpressive by most standards. Clad in unadorned functional attire, they carried none of the elaborate weaponry or ornate armor that marked the galaxy's greatest warriors. There was no fanfare, no entourage. They stood alone, a stark contrast to the flamboyant displays of their alien counterparts. Their movements were deliberate but unassuming, their expression calm, almost indifferent. The reactions were predictable. Jeers echoed through the concourse as the alien crowds pressed closer to get a look at this anomaly. Commentators wasted no time crafting scathing remarks, their voices dripping with sarcasm as they questioned whether this was some kind of elaborate joke. The towering reptilian guards, tasked with overseeing the arena's security, exchanged bemused glances but said nothing. Yet, amidst the ridicule, there was something about the humans' demeanor that unsettled a few observers. They did not flinch under the weight of the crowd's scorn, nor did they react to the insults hurled in their direction. They simply signed their name, bold, clear, and without hesitation, on the shimmering registry screen. The act was simple, almost mundane, but it carried an unexpected gravity. For the first time in the arena's long history, a human would step into the ring. The crowd's reaction was mixed. For most, it was a chance to witness what they assumed would be a swift and humiliating defeat. The betting boards lit up with activity as aliens placed their wagers, not on whether the human would win, but on how quickly they would lose. A few, however, watched with a quiet curiosity, their instincts telling them there was more to this challenger than met the eye. As the human turned to leave the registration area, a hulking, multi-limbed warrior blocked their path. The creature loomed over them, its voice a guttural snarl as it taunted the human for their audacity. The crowd roared in approval, expecting the human to retreat or, at best, offer a feeble defense. Instead, the challenger simply looked up, meeting the warrior's gaze without a trace of fear. They said nothing, but the silence was more cutting than any retort could have been. After a moment, the warrior stepped aside, unsettled by what it could not understand. The murmurs among the crowd grew louder as the human disappeared into the preparation chambers. Speculation ran rampant. Was this bravery or madness? Did humanity possess some hidden strength, or was this individual simply an outlier, a fool chasing glory? For all their disdain, the spectators could not deny one thing. They were intrigued. The stage was set, and the Galactic Arena had its first human competitor. The jeers and laughter would continue, but beneath the surface, an undercurrent of anticipation began to build. For the first time, the crowd wasn't entirely sure what to expect. And in a place where predictability ruled, the unknown was a powerful force. The arena's preparation chambers were a stark contrast to the roaring chaos outside. These were utilitarian spaces, stripped of ornamentation, where fighters readied themselves for the trials ahead. For the human challenger, this moment was critical. Alone in the quiet, they began methodically assembling their equipment, tools that looked crude compared to the sophisticated weaponry of their alien counterparts. To the untrained eye, the gear was laughably simple, yet every piece served a precise purpose. As the announcement boomed through the arena, signaling the first match, the betting odds flashed across the holographic boards. The human's opponent was a colossal creature, a towering mass of muscle and armor known as a Greylax. This species was infamous for its raw physical power and unrelenting aggression. The Greylax champion had crushed countless opponents in its rise to prominence, earning a reputation as a nearly invincible force. The crowd roared with excitement, confident in another effortless victory for their favorite. The human stepped into the arena, greeted by a wall of sound, laughter, jeers, and a few scattered gasps of disbelief. The Greylax waited on the opposite side, its massive frame dwarfing the human. It pounded the ground with its fists, sending tremors across the arena floor, a display of dominance designed to intimidate. The human, however, remained composed, their expression betraying no emotion. They studied their opponent with quiet focus, noting every detail. The match began with the Greylax charging forward, its heavy footsteps echoing like thunder. Its strategy was simple, overwhelmed with brute force. The human dodged with a speed and precision that caught many off guard, their movements efficient and calculated. The crowd's amusement began to shift, their laughter faltering as they realized this wasn't the immediate slaughter they had expected. The Greylax struck again and again, each attack more ferocious than the last, but the human continued to evade. It wasn't just agility. There was a pattern to the movements, a deliberate dance that kept the human just outside the range of each blow. Frustration crept into the Greylax's attacks, its once-controlled strikes becoming increasingly reckless. The human had spotted weaknesses, subtle vulnerabilities in the creature's form and technique, and was exploiting them with unerring accuracy. The tide began to turn when the human shifted from evasion to offense. Using a small, unassuming device, they triggered a series of precision strikes at the Greylax's joints. The weapon wasn't flashy, but it was devastatingly effective, leveraging physics and anatomy in ways the alien couldn't counter. Each strike chipped away at the Greylax's mobility, its movements growing sluggish as the damage accumulated. The crowd, initially stunned, erupted into a mix of disbelief and grudging admiration. The final moments of the battle were decisive. The human used the arena's terrain to their advantage, luring the Greylax into a position where its size and strength became liabilities. With one last calculated maneuver, they brought the giant down, leaving it incapacitated and unable to continue. The announcer's voice trembled as it declared the human the winner. For the first time in the arena's history, a human had triumphed in combat. The reaction was electric. The arena was a cacophony of sounds. Cheers from those who admired the human's unexpected victory, angry shouts from those who had bet against them, and murmurs of intrigue from skeptics forced to reconsider their assumptions. The betting board scrambled to adjust future odds, a clear sign that humanity could no longer be dismissed outright. As the human left the battlefield, their expression remained unreadable. They acknowledged neither the cheers nor the jeers, their focus unwavering. The crowd's perception of humanity had shifted slightly, though most still believed this victory was a fluke. The human strategy had been unconventional. Their reliance on intelligence and precision, rather than brute force, defined the expectations of the arena's bloodthirsty audience. The Galactic, once seen as unbeatable, lay defeated, a stark reminder that strength alone did not guarantee victory. For the spectators, this was an unsettling revelation. If a human could win once, what else might they be capable of? Questions rippled through the audience, carried in whispers and side glances. The human had done more than defeat an opponent. They had introduced an element of uncertainty into a world that thrived on predictability. The next match loomed, but the arena was already buzzing with speculation. Analysts debated the human's tactics, dissecting every move in an attempt to understand their strategy. Competitors who had dismissed humanity now watched with a mix of curiosity and unease. The human challenger had proven one thing. They weren't just another weak link in the galaxy's chain. They were a wild card, and in the galactic arena, nothing was more dangerous. The aftermath of the first victory sent ripples through the galactic arena. News of the human's triumph spread like wildfire, traveling far beyond the arena's walls to the distant systems that tuned in to watch. It was unprecedented, unsettling, and intriguing all at once. A species universally regarded as weak and insignificant had done the impossible. The human's name began to circulate, no longer as a joke, but as a topic of serious discussion. Yet skepticism lingered. One victory could be a fluke. The question remained, could they do it again? The human prepared for their next match in the same quiet, methodical manner. Meanwhile, the betting boards buzzed with activity, now including the human in the odds. Though still considered an underdog, their chances had shifted. Among the crowd, opinions were divided. Some dismissed the victory as luck, while others sensed something deeper, an unsettling, methodical approach that hinted at potential far beyond what the arena had seen before. Their next opponent was announced, a creature known for its cerebral dominance rather than brute strength. This alien, a Cyrosian, was a master of telepathy and manipulation, capable of breaking the will of most challengers before they even stepped into the ring. The Cyrosian had defeated countless foes without ever landing a physical blow, its mental prowess unmatched. Many in the crowd were confident this would expose humanity's inherent frailty. After all, how could a species as young and inexperienced as humans withstand such an attack? The match began and the arena's energy shifted. Unlike the brutal physicality of the first battle, this contest was eerie, almost silent. The Cyrosian's abilities manifested as waves of psychic force, attempting to penetrate the human's mind and unravel their resolve. The crowd watched, waiting for the inevitable collapse, but it never came. The humans stood firm, their body unmoving, their expression unreadable. Whatever the Cyrosian threw at them, it seemed to have little effect. What the crowd couldn't see was the quiet battle taking place beneath the surface. The human's mind was not a blank slate. It was a fortress. Through sheer willpower, discipline, and perhaps a touch of human stubbornness, they resisted the Cyrosian's mental onslaught. Every attempt to probe deeper was met with resistance, a mental barricade forged not from telepathic strength, but from an indomitable spirit. The Cyrosian grew frustrated, its focus wavering, and that was all the human needed. With a precision strike, the human exploited the Cyrosian's distraction, incapacitating it in a single, calculated move. The crowd erupted, their disbelief now tinged with a grudging respect. Humanity had proven something extraordinary. Their strength lay not just in their resilience, but in their ability to adapt and overcome challenges that others couldn't fathom. The human walked away victorious once more, their reputation growing with every step. Now the whispers grew louder. 2 victories were no fluke, and the arena's dynamics began to shift. Competitors who once scoffed at the idea of fighting a human now watched with caution. Analysts scrambled to predict how this anomaly might affect the tournament's outcome. The human had defied expectations twice, and the implications were staggering. If they could win again, it would cement their place as a force to be reckoned with. The third match was different. This time, the human faced an opponent whose strengths seemed insurmountable. Speed and agility. The Centauri, a wiry, insectoid creature, was renowned for its ability to move faster than the eye could follow. It had never been hit in combat, relying on its sheer velocity to outmaneuver every opponent. For many in the crowd, this match was the one that would end the human streak. How could someone so slow, so limited by biological constraints, counter such overwhelming speed? Once again, the human defied expectations. They didn't try to match the Centauri's speed. They didn't need to. Instead, they observed, calculated, and adapted. While the Centauri darted around the arena, the human remained centered, tracking its movements with a calm precision that unnerved even the most seasoned spectators. When the moment came, their counterattack was swift and decisive. The Centauri's speed was neutralized not by strength, but by strategy, its own momentum used against it. The crowd's reaction was a mix of astonishment and growing admiration. This wasn't luck. This wasn't brute force. This was something entirely different, a level of ingenuity and adaptability that many had never witnessed before. The humans' victories were not just wins. They were statements. Humanity was no longer a species to be ignored or dismissed. They were proving their worth in a way that no one could have predicted. With each victory, the humans' presence in the arena grew more significant. They were no longer just a competitor. They were a symbol. For the first time, the Galactic arena was forced to reconsider its biases and assumptions. Species that had once mocked humanity now watched with a mix of respect and unease. The human wasn't just winning matches. They were changing the game. The crowd buzzed with anticipation as the next opponent was announced, a name that sent shivers through even the most seasoned warriors. Humanity's challenger was rising through the ranks, and the galaxy was watching. The arena reached a fever pitch of anticipation as the final match was announced. The humans' meteoric rise had transformed them from an oddity to a contender, but this battle would define everything. Their opponent was a legend, an undefeated warrior whose very name sent shivers through even the most fearless of competitors. This was no ordinary combatant. This was a hybrid, a genetic amalgamation of the galaxy's strongest species, designed explicitly for dominance in the arena. Its victories were not merely fights. They were demonstrations of overwhelming superiority. For the human, this was the ultimate test. The crowd, once scornful of humanity, now watched in tense silence, their earlier derision replaced by a mix of curiosity and genuine investment. Bets poured in, and while the odds still favored the hybrid heavily, a surprising number now backed the human. This shift wasn't just a matter of probability. It was a testament to the impact the human had made. They had defied expectations at every turn, and some believed they could do so again. The hybrid entered the arena with an air of unshakable confidence, its massive frame dwarfing the human in every way. It embodied perfection, combining the brute strength of the Greylax, the psychic dominance of the Cyrosians, and the unparalleled speed of the Centauri. It was a weaponized reflection of everything the human had already faced, rolled into a single, nearly unstoppable form. The galaxy's faith in its champion was absolute. The match began, and the hybrid wasted no time asserting its dominance. Its movements were a blur, each strike carrying the weight of annihilation. For anyone else, it would have been over in moments. But the human had not survived this long by matching strength with strength or speed with speed. They had thrived on strategy, resilience, and an uncanny ability to exploit the unexpected. This battle was no different. The hybrid's initial assault was ferocious, each attack designed to overwhelm and disorient. Yet, the human weathered the storm, narrowly avoiding fatal blows while analyzing every movement. They weren't reacting blindly. They were studying, calculating, and adapting. Each failed strike from the hybrid revealed a fraction of its pattern, a hint of its limitations. What the hybrid saw as dominance, the human saw as opportunity. The first cracks in the hybrid's armor became visible as the human began to counter. They didn't aim to overpower. They aimed to disrupt. Every move was precise, targeting weaknesses others hadn't even noticed. The hybrid, for all its perfection, was not invincible. Its reliance on overwhelming force left it vulnerable to tactics that it couldn't predict or adapt to quickly enough. The crowd watched in stunned disbelief as the humans slowly turned the tide. The battle escalated into a war of attrition, with each side pushing the other to their limits. The hybrid's strength began to wane under the relentless assault of calculated strikes and environmental manipulation. The human, battered and exhausted, showed no signs of giving up. Every step, every strike, every decision was a testament to their determination and ingenuity. They weren't just fighting for survival. They were fighting for something far greater. They were fighting for humanity's place in a universe that had dismissed them. As the hybrid grew desperate, it unleashed its full power, a devastating combination of psychic force, raw strength, and blistering speed. The arena trembled under the intensity, and the crowd held its collective breath. Yet, even in the face of this onslaught, the human remained unshaken. They had anticipated this moment, prepared for it, and now they acted with the precision of someone who understood their opponent completely. The final moments were a masterclass in strategy and resolve. The human executed a flawless sequence of maneuvers that left the hybrid overextended and vulnerable. With one decisive strike, the hybrid was brought down, its seemingly invincible form collapsing to the ground. The arena erupted in chaos, a deafening mix of cheers, gasps, and stunned silence. The human stood victorious, battered but unbroken, a testament to the indomitable spirit of their species. This was more than a victory. It was a declaration. Humanity, once mocked and dismissed, had proven itself in the most unforgiving crucible imaginable. The crowd, once so quick to laugh, now roared with admiration and respect. The galaxy had been forced to acknowledge what they had overlooked for so long. Humanity's strength lay not in physical superiority, but in their unyielding will, their capacity to adapt, and their refusal to accept defeat.